And welcome to Inside Politics, and the station still is Universal Television, UTV Africa. Thank you so much for joining us, and this is the program on which we discuss Nigeria's politics, its policies, its development, its growth. And of course, when we talk politics, we talk about those policies that drive the country. No country exists in free fall. There's always a deliberate plan to get it to where it is supposed to be. And you could as well say that in the International Committee of Nations, everyone is competing and will try to be their best. So that's why we have this conversation all the time, to see that we bring you the best in conversation with experts, politicians, policymakers, leaders from different spheres, to get their opinion, harness them, and bring them to you as we have conversations towards making Nigeria a better place. We discuss the state of the nation. My name is Maddox Maduka Ojimadu. Welcome once again. This week is going to be an interesting one because we'll be delving into some academic exercise. We have a gentleman here who is an academic, an international academic, who has plied his trade around the world and in Nigeria. Please, let's make a welcome Patrick Ezechukwu, PhD. Dr. Patrick Ezechukwu. Doc, great, and thank you so much for making our time to join us today.
My pleasure, Maddox. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. We've had conversations in the past, and I've seen your book. If you don't mind, I'm looking at one of your recent books entitled The States of Nigeria, Justifying Confederation for National Integration. The suggestion from this book is that Nigeria is not a very integrated country, and that brings us to the issue of nationhood. The late statesman, the sage Bafemi Awolowo, once described Nigeria as a mere geographic expression, and many people say, well, Nigeria has not become the nation that it's supposed to be. If it's about a legal country, it is, but nationhood is still far from us. Awolowo said this decades ago. Is it something you subscribe to? Do you think Nigeria is still wallowing in a lack of nationhood, or probably we've turned the curve on this one?
Maddox, thank you for this opportunity. I don't think it's just Awolowo that had that view. The truth is that our forefathers, the Sardauna of Sokoto, the Obafemi Awolowo, even the Tafawa Balewa, if you read them in their time, three of them, including Zik, even though he wasn't very sure of what he wanted, these people were all convinced that Nigeria is a mere geographical expression. The first time Sardauna went to Lagos in 1959, when he got off to Lagos and finished his visits, he went back to Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano. When they gathered to receive him, he was addressing the journalists. He said, the people he met there are so different, they're so strange in their culture, in their orientation, in their attitude, that nobody in his right mind would think that all of us are going to be from the same country. That the best thing for Nigeria is the north for the north, the east for the east, the south for the south, and Nigeria for all. This was the same position that Tafawa Balewa shared. This was the same position that even Zik, in his understanding, he also shared some of those views. So, but I think along the line, we started making some mistakes in the terms of trying to force everybody, making some decrees and trying to turn Nigeria into an unimaginable reality. The word amalgamation, a basic understanding of chemistry, will give you a difference between an amalgam and a substance. If you get hydrogen and chlorine and mix it, you're going to get hydrochloric acid, which is a substance. A completely new compound is formed. But when you get some elements and join them together, you get an amalgam. What does an amalgam mean? An amalgam means each particle in that combination still maintain their identity.
Okay.
Nothing is destroyed, nothing is built. But they try to coexist as together. So I think the amalgamation of 1914 was not a mistake. They could have said, we want to create a country called Nigeria. They didn't. They said, we want to make an amalgamation. So if the people who want to form you as a country call you an amalgam, all of a sudden you want to think of yourself as a substance, it's not possible. And we have struggled with this. for over a decade, for over a century. And you ask yourself, even you, do you really see yourself as a Nigerian the way a British will see himself as a British, or a Scottish will see himself as a Scottish, or an Irish will see himself as Irish? The answer is no. Even our president will see himself first as a Yoruba man.
President Bola Tinubu.
Yes, our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will see himself first as a Yoruba man. Just like the great Sardauna saw himself first as a Northerner before seeing himself as a Nigerian. Awolowo saw himself first as a Yoruba man before himself as a Nigerian. And that was why he did not try to leave the South and come to the center. He preferred to stay in the South and create the amount of, educational system, free education, free trade, free economic development for his people. When they told Sardauna to come to the center, he said no. He sent Tafawa Balewa, preferred to stay in the region and make his mark. So I think it's time for us to, as a nation, to come together and look for the fundamentals of where we got it wrong and go back to see how to solve those problems.
You've spoken pretty much like an academic, because from what if I understood what you just said, you are saying that the whole idea is to have us commingle, not necessarily to blend us into one thing. That the idea would have been for each region to maintain some level of autonomy, but still having a cohesive center. My question is this. People would say, at the point of amalgamation, there didn't seem to be a robust engagement by the different component units that came to be amalgamated. The different parts didn't seem, there wasn't like an amalgamation conference where the Westerners, the Southerners, and any other entities in Nigeria came together and said, okay, these are the terms of the amalgamation. It was just like a British fiat that brought us together. Could there or should there have been a post-amalgamation, not even just a pre-independence, but a post-amalgamation conversation at which we would say, okay, this is the nature of the union we're going to build, and the kind of governance structure and all we're supposed to have? Or did we miss it at the point when we're having the conversations around independence of Nigeria?
I think it's not of course, fundamentally, that a robust discussion was not had before the so-called amalgamation took place. But the truth is that the so-called colonial masters, I'm sure in their graves they'll be wondering, so Nigeria is still one. They never expected, because if you look at the Liberty's homepage, some of the very serious authors that wrote around that time, they just saw this as a convenience. Something that can last for maybe a decade, 10, 15, 20 years, and then these people can go their different ways. But unfortunately, with some of the decrees from Agui-Ironsi and go on moving forward, it became impossible, to get these things. That unfortunately, even in reality, for example, how do you explain the fact that a product is found in Zamfara, for example, gold? The federal government does not know how much gold is produced in Zamfara. The gold in Zamfara is not brought into the center and used to develop other areas. It belongs to the so-called, maybe retired generals or former governors or big-time politicians who live in those places. But if oil is discovered in the Niger Delta, it becomes a national issue. So if people were to come together to say, we want to coexist together, we should be able to say, okay, this is why we can live together, this is why we cannot live together, this is why what we can share together, these are the things we cannot share together. But unfortunately, if those discussions are not had, then it will be difficult to be whoever is in power decides what he wants to do to the advantage or disadvantages of people who either he likes or he doesn't like. So that discussion, for me, Nigeria is a beautiful country. Nigeria is a place that if people come together, have this robust discussion, tell themselves the truth, Nigeria can grow and make progress. But if anybody is thinking that with what the system we have, I don't even know the system we have. I don't know if it's a unitary system, because at some point it becomes like you are running a unitary system, because where the president is appointing the chief justice, deciding who becomes Senate president, appointing the
Even the judiciary
appointing
in the
IG
state
of
is
police,
federally
appointing
appointed.
the head of army, appointing the chairman of INEC. So whoever is the president, it takes decision in everything. So that is why people are ready to kill to get to that position, because once you get there, everything becomes so. No country can function like that. And unfortunately, that is what that's what we have now. It can work. So if tomorrow now we get another who becomes a president, he reverses most of these things that are taking place and say, no, this man got it wrong. So which country is going to work? It's not going to work. So there is still need for people to come together to say, okay, if we want to coexist as a country, where each region, or even can you call it each state? Because now, a lot of states, there is no state in Nigeria, in my understanding, that will not have enough mineral or whatever resources to function as a state.
Recent information is that if not for the interventions of President Tinubu, in terms of reforms with removal of subsidy and all, which has seen the improved and increased allocation to states, that 29 states would have gone under by now.
And I'm sure in these 29 states, you include a state like Zamfara. Do you know the volume of gold that leaves Zamfara on a weekly basis? It's something I talk about, because no state is responsible to their people. There are a lot of unnamed mineral and natural resources in each state of the federation. That if each state is to run on your own,
and probably contribute a portion to the center.
Then each state, the people of that state will not just allow. The disaster we have now as a nation is also that even your votes do not even count.
You think so?
Of course, the votes don't count. You know the votes don't count in my own perspective. But then the system has made it possible. They are doing the election in Imo State, for example. Who is going to be, for example, the APC candidate in the governorship election? The decision is taken in Abuja. Who is going to win the election? The decision is taken in Abuja.
And Abuja was to conduct the election.
The people have little or nothing to contribute. So it leads to voter apathy. So people don't vote because they know that even when they vote, it doesn't really count. And because the governor who is in the state knows that his power is not from Imo State, for example. He spends most of his time in Abuja.
He doesn't feel accountable to the people.
He's not accountable to the people because he knows he didn't put him to power. So if you didn't put me to power, how will I be accountable to you? But if the states are to manage their resources, for example, if they have a mineral in my village and part and parcel of the owners of that mineral, you cannot take it anyhow you want to. So if the federal is demanding 15% or 20%, we have to say, okay, how do we get this and give to the center? And then the remaining 80% or 85%, how are we going to use it to develop ourselves? So there's no state in Nigeria that is poor. None. So this is something we say, okay, because it's not true. No state is poor. There are a lot of very special minerals.
Is the structure of the country that makes those states look like they are poor or they are not productive?
Okay, let me still mention Zamfara again. We have some foreigners. Let me not mention any country. We have some foreigners who land with their private jets, the choppers, load these mineral resources.
I'll help you. The Chinese have been accused of this.
I'll help you. Accused.
The Chinese have been accused of this.
There are a lot of other countries. And some of those Chinese nationals you see are working for other countries. Don't think they're working for Chinese.
They're just the footmen.
They're working for other countries because there are people that can take that risk.
Okay.
A lot of these things live and land in the Middle East.
Okay.
In Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, and all these other countries. So those money alone, they're enough to run the budget of Zamfara State. But then Zamfara State is still presented as a very poor country, a very poor state. Enugu State, for example, has school.
Yes.
And if the governor is to maximize the potentials of that, he will not be coming to Abuja to look for money. He will not. Unless he will bring it home. We have main market in Onitsha. But because Soludo knows that whether he burns down main market or not, he will still come to center and collect money.
He said
So you can look at people and tell them, I can demolish this market.
No, but he said his government owns it and they can do what they want.
That's what I'm
with it.
saying. For him to even say he can this is a market that generates
He can turn it into a school or hospital if he chooses to.
Because he knows his money is not coming from this.
But this is the biggest market in West Africa, as it's said.
I mean, that when I mention everybody knows about the market. So for a governor to stand up and say, I can even the word demolish, I can demolish this market and rebuild it into
a school,
whatever. What that tells you that this man does not understand what economy is all about. How do you destroy just because you think you have the power to do that? What happens to engaging these people to find out what their grievances are? And if I have a shop, I decide not to come to shop on a particular day, who tells you can force me to go to shop? Why will you force me? If I say I don't want to go to shop on a particular day, why will you force me to go to shop? And because I did not come to shop, you come and demolish my shop. So I don't know how those matters are going to end. But that I'm just trying to draw your attention to the fact that some of these governors, they know their victory is not from the people. And so they can look the people in the face and say anything they want to say.
And they can afford to be lazy, knowing that at the end of the month, they can come cap in hand to Abuja to collect money.
Of course. So if, for example, we get back to our roots, restructure, and I'll use the word confederation, even though, unfortunately, some of our people see this word as
before we come to confederation, because that seems, looking at your book, it seems to be like what you think is the idea. Let's backtrack a bit. You talked about the fact that those who set up the country, those who did the amalgamation, critically and realistically would be shocked that the country somehow is still going, is still there, it hasn't disintegrated. I'm just wondering, is it that they expected the place to descend into chaos and then they'll have a good laugh, or is it that they designed it so as to give them a leeway for continuing to maintain control of the country? And I'm saying this also from the fact that the insinuations generally from within Nigeria and outside is that some external powers, foreign powers, actually determine who gets to lead Nigeria. And if you don't get a sign-off from them, forget about being president of Nigeria. And they try to have you serve their interests more than your people's interests. So is it that this system we have was deliberately created this way so that Nigeria won't function for the people and the external powers could use it as a means to take control? Or is it that they just wanted the whole place to go into conflagration and then good riddance?
No, the truth is that some of these things are historical facts. For example, that the British never wished Nigeria well is history. You can Google Liberty's homepage. It's still on the internet. You can Google the arrangement by 1956, the first Constituent Assembly, when Ahmadu Bello told them that for him to be part of this so-called arrangement they're going to make, they have to give him majority in the House and in the Senate.
Irrespective of whatever realistically his party could score.
And they gave him. And unfortunately...
And people say that the independence election was rigged.
Of course it was rigged. Of course it was rigged.
You think so?
No, historically is there. These things are part of our history. But we can't be talking about what has happened over 50, 60, 70 years ago. That's not what is important. Yeah. A lot of wrong steps were taken. For example, when the Sadwana made that request, Zik and Awolowo felt, well, he's not smart. We're going to outsmart him. Eventually, we'll take over the government. And he forgot that the British are there working for him, telling him what to do, what to say, how to say it, how to remain in control. So actually, I think the discovery of oil was one of the worst things, because the British people, they were chased by malaria and other things. They wanted to leave. On their exit, they saw, these people now have oil. So they have to still find a way to remain in control. And the only way to can remain in control is to give more majority, whatever, to the North, who they believe they can control. And unfortunately, it has been like that up to this time. And have you thought about the fact that prior to the Civil War, they had a meeting in Accra, in Ghana,
Yeah.
Gowon, Ojukwu,
Okay, after
whatever,
all the crisis,
other crisis and blah,
up to
blah, blah. And
1966.
these people sat down and they, these people sat down and they discussed and they agreed on certain issues.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do.
The Ebury Accord.
They short flights from Ghana to Lagos. Some people spoke to Gowon.
No, Gowon said he had malaria.
Well, you have interviewed Gowon on this matter. He never said he had malaria.
Yeah, but
he said
that he had malaria.
He said
he didn't know what he was agreeing to.
He said he got some superior arguments.
Okay.
That his mind was opened up to some superior arguments
after reaching the accord.
After reaching the agreement. So when he came down, he got off the plane and said, that decision we took, I don't agree to it again. That was all led to civil war. And then go on now. Sometimes I wonder if he looks back, will he be happy with the role he played in Nigeria? Being someone from Plateau states, with the killings in Plateau, with the things happening in his country, in his states, will he really be happy? Will he think he has done well for his people? Because sometimes this idea of one monolithic north is what misled a lot of people. But now it's becoming clear that people have their own identities. But as I said, we should not bother ourselves what happened in the past. We should start from today and look forward. And looking forward will tell us that if we're to function as a country, we have to tell ourselves the truth. There's no Nigerian who sees himself first of all as a Nigerian. There's none. Tinubu, Bola Ahmed Tinubu sees himself first. And it will be good sometimes to go back in the 80s and read what he wrote, the interviews he granted, his convictions about
his
Nigeria.
Views.
So what has changed? And those his views, for me, are his, 100% considered opinion, which he believes are going to work. When he was with Afanifere and all these people, what were his views? But now as a president, I had expected him being someone who can take bold decisions.
People get older, maybe wiser, more experienced, and can
Should you call it wiser?
And do change their opinions, ideas, and positions on things.
Well, I don't know if we should call it wiser, but we can continue with what we are doing. Whoever becomes president takes it all and eats up whatever they want to eat at the end of the day. But the life is so short that I think people should engage themselves in very positive ways and see contributions they can make to the country as a nation. There is no way we will continue what we are running, and we expect a magic in years to come. It's important that we identify our differences, emphasize those differences, but understand that there are things these people can do, these other people cannot do. And the more we have power going back to the states, we make the states make whoever is either governor or wherever to become more responsible to the people. But because everybody can come to a governor who comes to Abuja, stays 3 weeks in Abuja, 1 week in the states, and will still win the election. Is that not strange?
But so isn't that okay when you also consider that for this year, for instance, the president has been away 22 days of 1 month and it's been around 9 months. So isn't it a norm? So you don't really have to sit in your state.
Is that how to run it? Is that how to even run a country? We know that's not how to run a country. Because no matter what we do, history will judge us. We look back in history, we say, this is what has happened, this is what has happened, this is what has happened. I mean, the history is there to judge all of us. Life is not just about what you can do or not do, but the positive impacts are going to make to your nation and to your state. So I stand strongly to say, whatever things that are happening now, everybody that is talking, a lot of our politicians are just wear belly face and they talk like that.
Okay.
But if the table is to turn and they are now to take that decision, they won't take that decision because it wouldn't favor them at that particular time. So that's what I think. Fundamentally, going back to our restructuring.
All right.
The evolution of power, resource control. If we strictly implement resource control, you will realize that there is no state that is poor.
All right.
There's none. Okay. But just that because everybody's eye is in what comes from the center, the big things that they have in their own areas.
Right. No.
For example, people who are rearing cow, what percentage of what VAT do they contribute to the nation? And cow is a very good business. People who rear cow in America or England,
Ranches and all that.
ranches and all that. So, but see somebody who has over 2,000 cows, 3,000 cows, he contributes nothing in terms of VAT,
All right.
and all that.
Okay, so if you just joined us, we have been having this conversation with Dr. Paul Ezechukwu, and he's walked us right through the issues and the problems. But if you followed his trend, he's actually getting to the solutions. We'll be going on this break. When we come back, he's going to expatiate on the solutions and the way forward for us as the people in Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be back after this short break. So you always hear the government say you can talk about everything else, but the Union of Nigeria is off the table. You can't even
But
discuss
even
it.
Confederation is not against the Union of Nigeria. So there's no state in Nigeria that is poor. None. So this is something we say, okay, because it's not true. No state is poor. There are a lot of very special minerals. So for a governor to stand up and say, I can, even the word demolish, I can demolish this market and rebuild it into whatever. What that tells you that this man does not understand what the economy is all about. How do you destroy just because you think you have the power to do that? What happens to engaging these people to find out what their grievances are? And if I have a shop, I decide not to come to shop on a particular day, who tells you can force me to go to shop? Why will you force me to go to shop? And because I did not come to shop, you come and demolish my shop. Some of these governors, they know their victory is not from the people. And so they can look the people in the face and say anything they want to say out. If we're practicing democracy, we should listen to the people and know what the people want.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us here on Universal Television, UTV Africa. My name still remains Maddox, and the program still remains Inside Politics here. And of course, what we do is we talk about Nigeria, its growth, its development, its policies, basically the state of the nation. And we've had as our guest today Dr. Patrick Ezechukwu. He's an international academic who has plied his trade as an academic both here in Nigeria and outside the shores of Nigeria. In the first half of this conversation, we've x-rayed the structure, the issues, you could also say the defects with the system in Nigeria. But this is time for us to start looking at the solutions. And I did reference a book authored by Dr. Patrick Ezechukwu, in which the book is entitled The States of Nigeria, Justifying Confederation, Our National Integration. And meanwhile, thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Ezechukwu, for your time. Your book talks about confederation, and you've x-rayed the problems we have in Nigeria, and you also talked about some of the things that needed to be done. Restructuring is one of the key words you used. And then another one is resource control. But is confederation the magic bullet that would reset Nigeria to function better? And if I may actually ask you once again, is confederation the one and all for all these things you've said? You've pointed out the fact that certain persons get agitated by the term confederation. Talk to us about it. Is that the magic bullet that will solve all these issues you raised?
I won't call it magic bullets, Mr. Maddox, but I will think is a necessary first step. When you have done a lot of things wrong, when you want to do the right thing, there is a time when you have to do about turn. And as a nation, we have been, moving in the wrong direction. And it's time for us to now stop and do about turn and realize that we cannot continue what we are doing and expect to have very good results. So is it the magic wand? No, but I think it's a necessary first step. Part of the benefits will be that we'll get people who will be passionate about wherever state or region or wherever they're from, and then their leaders will become more accountable to those people. That's the way I'm looking at it. When you talk about resource control, when you talk about, say, like state police,
so
when you
resource
talk about
control is part of
yes,
what
under
confederation will bring
resource
on board.
control is 100%. You cannot For example, when Emefiele was CBN governor, I think they bought gold of, is it $4 million or thereabout
From
Zamfara State, and actually paid them that money. And I'm asking, how? So how much oil have they bought from, how much cocoa, for example, have they bought from the Yoruba land and
those
paid
states,
them for it?
or
How
oil
much
from Bayelsa?
How have they bought from somebody who's and then paid them that in cash? So these issues of, trying to divide what is in the legislative or what is in this, it's not, whatever belongs to the people. The foundation of confederation is on John Locke's philosophy, where he argued that human beings, by rights, fundamentally, are entitled to what they inherit from their land. So if a state has something in their land, it's a fundamental human right. You cannot alienate them from that and say, no, short, because you are now part of Nigeria, you don't have a right to know how your oil is being treated, how your gold is being treated, how your uranium is being treated, and how whatever you have is being... No. You can't do that and expect justice. I'm sure if this is thrown open to the people to say, what do you want? People will want confederation. That would be a necessary first step. And confederation will make it possible now for more responsible leaders to emerge. Because leaders have to emerge from the people. Not somebody staying in Abuja and appointing governors in all the states of the federation and looking at people who are going to be accountable to him. Nothing can work like that. So that's the way I'm looking at it. No, it's not the be all and end all, no, but it's a necessary first step. And is this something that human beings will have to come together? Because, the part of the foundations of civil society is that people have to come together and move away from state of nature. And then say, okay, now as responsible people, how do we operate? How was Canada formed? How was America formed? What you call Texas now wasn't part of America. What you call California now was not part of America. But the union is defined. And those people, are coming. And same thing with the Canada.
There are laid down procedures for you to become and continue to be a member of the union.
Part of the union. So you cannot just assume, for example, you mentioned, somebody who is saddled with the responsibility of, leading Nigeria. Nigeria that is so complex, trouble everywhere, people are being killed everywhere, and he spends more time abroad. What does that tell you? He's not in control. And it's a big issue. And it's something we need to face. And who is he accountable to? Nobody. He appoints the Chief Justice, he appoints the Chief of Army Staff, he appoints the Minister of Defense, he appoints the INEC chairman, he appoints everybody. And if you say something he does not like, he removes you. This issue is not because of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No. It's the system that we're running. It's very faulty. So anybody that becomes president of Nigeria will have to really grapple with this, because it's not easy. They say absolute power corrupts absolutely. The presidency of Nigeria is the power is too much. That if you get there, you will be wondering, am I still a human being? You might think you have become something like a god. Because even people that you used to respect before, will come and bow before you.
You don't even have to be president. Even a local government chairman is some kind of demigod.
That is it. So you can now imagine what it means to become the president of Nigeria. You'll be imagining, am I still a human being? No, I'm not a human being again. I've become a god. And because if you say, tell this man, go, he will go. Say this one, come, he will come. Do this one, do this, and he does it. So why do you want to be accountable to anybody? You do whatever you want and get away with it.
Yeah, but you talked about confederalism here. The oft-repeated suggestion has been to go back to, you talked about confederalism, but some people have said regionalism, like it was before the 1966 coup, when we had the regions. The kind of structure we had then is a better option. Still having a federal republic, not a confederation, but now with stronger regions which are more in control. Which of this do you think is a superior argument?
The truth is that we don't have those homogeneous regions as we had it in those days. I was having a discussion with a friend who is from Adamawa, and I said, you people that are northerners, he was very upset. He said, I find it very insulting for you to call me a northerner. I said, but we can group you all as Hausa Fulani. He said, you see, you make another mistake. I'm neither Hausa, I'm neither Fulani. So talk about somebody from Plateau, talk about somebody from Kwara, talk about somebody from Niger, talk about somebody from even, Ilori is Kwara, around those axes. There are a lot of, talk about even somebody from Benue. In the past, these people are seen as part of the North. So when Sadwana stays there and speaks, all these people, it's not happening again. And not just in the North, even in the East, in the Southeast, for example, the whole of the Niger Delta, they were all parts of the old Eastern region. I'm just imagining talking to people who have changed their names from their original Igbo names to some kind of strange names. You still come and say, oh, you're part of it. It's not going to work. So people have started understanding their kind of uniqueness, coupled in their little states, that any arrangement we're going to make now have to take cognizance of the states. And that's why I keep saying that there is no state that cannot run. I mean, there are a lot of countries that have over 800 people, not even up to 1 million. And they are a nation in Europe. And they function as a country. And they have all the things they need to operate as a country. So is there any state in Nigeria that is less than 3 million? There's none. So why can't we give them opportunity to say, okay, you're a small state, but then what can you do for yourself? And I can assure you, they can run themselves, they can administer themselves, and they will feel better for it if this opportunity is presented.
So the key issue here now is that level of autonomy that each state is able to exercise if we have a confederation. So it's like small countries coming together to form a bigger country.
Small countries, but we won't call it countries.
Yes.
But
that's why I say it's just like.
For example, the cities, like you talk of Ontario, you talk of that come to make up Canada. They don't see the provinces. They don't see themselves as countries.
Yeah.
But they function very effectively. If we even try to practice what they do in America, governors in America, they have a lot of powers.
Yeah.
But they're accountable to their people.
Yeah.
So the fact that you say the president is good would not guarantee they're going to win the next election, because you're accountable to the people more than you're accountable to whoever is the president. But in Nigeria, we have turned it upside down, because it's whatever happens at the budget decides who wins the election. And, so it's important that, and I'm saying, this will not come in form of a decree, but let people come and be part of this discussion to say, what do we really want for the development of our people, for our future generations yet to come? Because if we keep pushing, we are running a nameless system, my brother. We don't, what is it? Is it whatever?
But you're talking about people coming together to talk again. They'll point out to you in the past when Nigerians have come to talk. The Abacha confab is there. Nothing from it was implemented. The latest of which, of course, the 2014 confab of the Jonathan administration. The report is probably somewhere gathering dust now. And people tell you that coming together to talk has never solved any issues in Nigeria.
2014.
So what do you think?
So 2014 to now is 12 years.
So what do you think?
You mean because I think
it's going to be different if we decide to come and talk again.
We're not sincere as a nation. I think it just boils down to that. Otherwise, how do you gather people, spend billions of naira, bring people from different parts of the country, sit them together for weeks and months? They come up with, and right now, as Nigerians, we don't even know the recommendations of that. All that you hear is gossip. It's like, this is what they say, they did not say this. And we just put it down, just because it doesn't seem to serve the interest of the person who became president in 2015.
Okay.
And for 8 years, all that was wasted. And now we have a new president. And now we still say, no, keep it down. There's this saying that those who make peaceful change impossible make revolutionary change inevitable. The system we are running, even those who are benefiting from it, they know it's wrong. That is why you see somebody today, he's a minister. Tomorrow he's inside EFCC. Next tomorrow he's calling for justice, for injustice. Someone like Malami, for example, who at the point thought himself as a god. Malami was a god because he can sit down and call off a case. A criminal is being prosecuted. Malami can sit down and write and say, use his fiat, withdraw this case, and the case is over. And now, he's struggling to explain how he's able to buy property of 200 and something billion, and he's even telling us actually he has enough money he could have. So when people are benefiting from the system, they tend to say, let the injustice continue. But we all know that the injustice will not last forever. So the sooner we try to tell ourselves the truth, the better for us.
So do you think that if the current administration, because from what you said, it didn't serve the interest of the Buhari administration, Buhari himself and his administration, but do you think there are some good cues that the current administration can take from that 2014 confab? If they dust it up, probably it could help us to get on this road to
I believe that if the president or the leadership of the nation right now decides to study those recommendations, and maybe with whatever has happened over the last 12 years, set up a committee to do some review on it and pass it through the Senate or thereabout, maybe it will work. But to just keep it under the burner forever means that we just like wasting money. So all the money that was wasted in that process is just for nothing, for the sake of that, wasted. And they can't, but it's not something that's supposed to be. So I believe that whoever the leadership or whatever, who are guiding us as a nation, they need to be more honest. They need to listen to the people to say, what do people want? Because if we keep pushing what we are pushing, it will go to blame. We blame this person, we blame that person, we call this person name, we call that person name, and we keep ruling as a nation without making any reasonable progress.
So in simple terms, federalism, even by whatever corrupted form it is we are running, it has failed Nigeria. We need to switch it off and switch to a confederation.
Federalism would not help Nigeria.
Because the idea, if you listen, is that Nigeria is supposed to become a more cohesive, more united front if there's a federation. Confederation makes people draw apart, but federalism makes people mix up a lot. And then you hear so much about the indivisibility and indissolubility of Nigeria. By implication, no part of Nigeria, not even an inch of Nigeria, can break away and stay apart from the rest, become an independent country of its own. Is that
what is the justification of that argument for the indivisibility? Even the people that brought you together called you an amalgam. Is an amalgam indivisible? Amalgamation.
Well, we've heard that said so many times.
So it cannot be.
Even the times that we have those confabs, you always hear the government say, you can talk about everything else, but the Union of Nigeria is off the table.
No,
you can't even
but
discuss
even Confederation is not against the Union of Nigeria. America is a country.
But
Canada is a country. Russia is a country.
With more autonomous regions, it's usually seen as a first step.
I don't think
towards
so.
breaking apart.
Sincerely, I don't. You know why? I said. Of course, this when we interviewed this guy on that, part of he said in his understanding, Confederation is akin to secession. That was his logic.
Go on.
That was his logic. Confederation is akin to secession. But the truth is that who even wants to leave Nigeria? In reality, which tribe? Is it Tompolo? Is it Tompolo, for example?
They would point. They would point to the southeast.
No. But who in southeast even wants to leave Nigeria?
No, there's the IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. The agitation has been there, and the percentage that they have is a lot of sympathy from the people of the southeast.
What percentage of the people from the southeast does IPOB represent? I'm sure it's not up to 10%.
You think so?
Yes, I know so. I mean, you can make out time and talk to like opinion leaders, successful business people, investors, people who have businesses here and there, and you tell them in their own considered opinion, do they support IPOB? The answer is no. Who wants to secede from Nigeria? Is it Sadwan of Sokoto that wants to secede from Nigeria? Sokoto cannot give him what Nigeria is giving him. Is it Tompolo that wants to secede from Nigeria? Okay, is it Wike that wants to secede from Nigeria? Is it Amechi, Rotimi Amechi that wants to? Is it El Rufai that wants to secede from Nigeria? Is it Rocha Sokroche that wants to secede from Nigeria?
Are these people representative
The truth
of
is that
the ordinary, everyday
no,
Nigerians?
I'm talking of the political leaders.
Okay.
Even if you come down even to the business leaders, you can call the billionaires. Is it Dangote that wants to leave Nigeria? Is it Otedoro that wants to leave Nigeria? Is it Adenuga that wants to leave Nigeria? Are you getting what I'm saying? The truth is that Nigeria there's been so much intermarriages, interminglings, relationships, in so many, that nobody in his right sense will argue for secession of Nigeria.
Okay.
However, in terms of administration, it is important we go towards a confederation to make leadership more accountable. That is why I'm focusing it.
The big elephant in the room is, how do we achieve this? You have said, rightly or wrongly, that the votes don't count. Nigeria's laws don't recognize any referendum or plebiscites to ratify any decisions that are being made. So how do we get there? Then we could tie into that also that the 2027 general elections are here anytime between the end of this year and next year. Those elections should happen. Where do you see that going? Does the outcome of that election forebode anything at all for either the good or bad of Nigeria?
I won't be able to predict the future of what's going to happen in the election.
Yeah, but scientifically, you could weigh things.
You know, there are speculations, of how it's going to go. But the truth is, Nigeria is a very complex society. Sometimes the way you expect something to happen, it doesn't happen that way. The way you want it to think, because it's going to happen this way, because it happened like this 5-10 years ago, it's not going to happen that way. So every day, that's why you see the present leadership, they're not losing sleep. They work very hard trying to bring all the governors to like one situation where 36 governors are all APC. And then people say, a governor has one vote. Maybe they'll have the power to try to rig. But the people also can make rigging impossible. So the issue of people sitting down to discuss, we cannot rule that out. If we're practicing democracy, we should listen to the people and know what the people want. That's what I still believe. How it's going to happen, I'm not sure. But what I'm sure about is that this system we are running, you might be surprised. The same crop of leaders that are here now, in the next 4 years, they'll be in prison. They'll be looking for lawyers. If somebody had told Balami that at a point himself, his son, his wife can be in, will he believe? He won't believe. And these people had golden opportunity, because we also Buhari as somebody that can take big decisions, turn Nigeria around, make Nigeria better. And he surrounded himself with these people who ended up making things worse. If somebody ever told Mefele that he will be in the position he is today, will he believe? He will never believe.
So it's in the best interest of everyone.
It's in the best interest, even those who are benefiting now. Because this,
get
where you are,
together.
You are Senate President today, for example, Ababio, he won't be there forever.
Yeah.
He will not be there forever. You are Minister for Defense today, you are Minister for Agriculture, you are Attorney General, you are Minister of Finance. If Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, just less than 3 years ago, today is going from Suleja prison to Kuje prison, from Kuje prison to this one, to him and his wife and his son. Do you know the embarrassment it is? You and your son and your wife for money. So even those who are leaders today, let them understand that history is judging everybody. And the fact that you're benefiting will not make you to mortgage your conscience. And then you say, oh, because I'm benefiting, whatever is wrong, let us be doing it. It doesn't last forever.
Okay. So now, in a nutshell, from what you've said, the 36 states of the Federation, maybe you could also include Abuja,
Yes.
should
Of course, Abuja is the center.
Should form the confederal units of Nigeria, not the old regions.
No. I don't.
So in a nutshell, as we wrap up the conversation now, what do you envisage will be the structure of Nigeria then, and how would these regions intermingle and also relate with the center?
Each state, I won't use that word, confederating units would now have to be the states.
Yeah.
So the center will have to take care of the armed forces, take care of, external affairs, of course, passports, take care of, external affairs and all those things.
Defense.
And then agree on what percentage each confederating unit will contribute to the center.
The confederating units have to fund the
have to fund the center. What is that? 10, 15, 20, 25% of whatever they get can come, because to maintain Nigeria's image abroad is not going to be a small issue.
So the confederating units should now control everything else.
They control but we still have to maintain our passports.
Yeah, that's Nigerian what I'm saying. Aside from what you've talked about, the center handling, the rest should be...
The rest in terms of your resources, in terms of your local policing, in terms of your trade, in terms of your agreement with whatever. Then you will see how states can discuss with other states and form an alliance and do some projects and run things. And then you see competition. And you see people, because they say, okay, this is our state, we have to elect a governor for our state. You don't need to come to Abuja to give money to INEC chairman to say, no matter what it takes, make me president. And you can see people having more integrity. This is not going to be easy, because I've had to meet with some people who were in government in the last administration. And today, if you listen to what they say, that thing you are saying is correct, though. Maybe we should have done it.
They're saying a different thing.
Because they are no more in power. So even those in power today,
even when you talk about the current president, it looks like when you enter Aso Rock, the air there is different. It affects how you think. So it looks like when people get in there, they see things differently. Before they go in, they see things one way. By the time they go in, their perception and their attitude change. And then when they come out, they go back to factory mode.
No changing. I think that all that boils down to integrity. We have a lot of call it leaders who have zero integrity. And I can call 2 names for you.
Please don't. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Patrick Ezechukwu. I wish we could go on, but our time is limited. But something in me tells me that we would revisit this conversation. Still talk more, because the topic is so wide. In this 1 hour, we cannot do justice to all of it. But it's quite illuminating and very educating talking with you today. And I quite appreciate your time and your candor on this. Hopefully, sometime very soon, we'll also rehash this conversation. I'll probably talk more on some other issues.
It's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. And this is where we draw the curtain on Inside Politics today, where we've had a conversation on the state of the nation, Nigeria. And the academic we've had with us today has done a whole lot of justice to the issues. And we do hope to come back to you very soon. Till then, remember to keep it locked on the station where it is right now. My name still remains Maddox Maduka Ojimadu. I'll see you again very soon. Whatever you do, do your best to make Nigeria a better place. Enjoy the rest of your day.